Alright, hello guys. We're going to take a little look at some of the new LGA 1700 boards for the B660 and 660 and H670 chipsets, and see how they stack up against other options you have in the market at the moment. The main points for comparison I'm going to make are the B550A Pro for AM4. This is, I think, one of the best baseline boards we get at the moment, and the Z690A DDR4, which is so far is the best entry level, in quotation marks, Alder Lake board available. So yeah, let's get right into it. We're going to start with the B550A Pro and work through from there. So the B550A Pro, at the moment it's about 110 or so dollars. It started off about 150, so that's a good reference point, I think, for the prices of some of the Alder Lake boards we're going to look at. This, of course, has only two M.2 slots, similar to most AM4 boards. 6 SATA ports. In terms of USB, we get 8 USB rear ports and one USB-C internal. One USB-C internal, one USB-A internal. So it's a pretty normal setup in terms of what you get for USB. And then the LAN on this is, I believe, a Realtek 1 gig or something. So it's not nothing fantastic there. Yeah, so Realtek 1 gig. And then in terms of memory, I have one of these, and it does about this, what it says on the spec sheet. So with dual rank sticks, you'll be getting around 3866. 4000 doesn't seem to work very easily. But of course, for Ryzen, that is completely adequate. So it ticks all the boxes. So the Z690A DDR4, on the other hand, let's start again with the M.2s. We have 4 M.2 slots on this, so a pretty big upgrade. And I believe these are all except one are PCI Express 4.0, which is pretty good compared to a lot of other boards you can find these days. In terms of USB, I think it's pretty typical. You get 8 USB rear ports. You only get 3 3.0 type A ports. So nothing fantastic on the rear I/O. One thing I wish they'd done on this board is they have 2 USB-A internal headers. I think they should have just wired that one of those up to the rear I/O. But nothing to complain about in the USB department here. You've got all the usual stuff, Type A and Type C internals, and acceptable amount in the rear. In terms of SATA, this is also 6 ports, just like the B550. And then in terms of LAN, you get you get 2.5 gig on this, and I think it's Intel as well, 2.5 gig Intel. Yep. So you get 2.5 gig Intel on this, so that's a bit of an upgrade. And of course, the price of this is sort of around $200 for the DDR4 non-Wi-Fi. One of the nice things about this board is you can get it in basically any flavor you like. So DDR5, should the availability become better, and with Wi-Fi or without Wi-Fi. And of course, lastly, in terms of memory, these boards have been pretty impressive from what I've seen so far from overclockers. But in terms of Alder Lake, you mostly care about Gear 1 speeds. So, 4,000 to 4,400 is about what you'd be looking for. But I think around 4,000, I would say, is where most people will probably stop. So this is pretty much what, again, ticks all the boxes of what you need, and a little bit more with, the 4 M.2 slots. So yeah, let's get right into some of the other LGA 1700 boards. And the first of those is the B660A DDR4 from MSI. Here, immediately we see the memory downgrade. Though, like I said, around 4,000, probably acceptable. You might see the speed creep up a little bit over time, but not sure. One of the first things to note with this board is the PCI Express 16 slot is only 4.0. as opposed to the Asus, Gigabyte, and Asrock boards, a lot of those have 5.0 support. So I guess MSI is cutting a bit of costs there. In terms of M.2 slots, you only get 2 in this board, and you only get 4 SATA ports as well. But I think for gaming builds, that's completely adequate. It's less than what you get on the B550A Pro, but it's nothing too terrible. In terms of VRMs, all of these boards are really adequate. This is the Almos components, so it's really going to be fine. And from what I've seen, like the 12400 only uses about 100 watts under absolute maximum load, so really it doesn't require that much VRM. And this one, with the power stages on this one, it's going to be more than enough for the i7 and even i9. What you can do with those. And then of course the USB situation with this is pretty typical. I think it's the same. You only get 7 Type A port, 7 USB, so 6 Type A ports and 1 Type C. So for me personally, that's a little bit too little. I prefer to have at least 8 Type A ports, but for a lot of people that will be adequate. And then internally you've got USB Type C and Type A 3.0. So it's alright. In terms of pricing, this is expected to be around 150 starting, 140, 150. So if this drops down to about $100 with time, I think it'll be a pretty decent board for sort of entry mid-range Alder Lake builds. In terms of really bottom of the barrel stuff, we have some of these other boards from MSI. A lot of these, I mean, this one, for example, you only get 6 ports, 6 USB ports, and no Type C. I don't think you could get Type C header on this. So yeah, not great. And I think these start at about $100, so not very attractive in my eyes. And I don't think there's really much else to look at lower down the price. So then the other alternative from MSI, I think, is the mortar. This, of course, M80X. Now the change here, this does cost about $40 more than the Dash A, which I think is a bit steep given that you don't get any more M.2 slots in this. You do get some extra SATA ports, you get the usual internal Type A and Type C, and you get a bit more rear USB 2, but I'm not sure, I'm not really convinced about this. And one thing also to note, I think, is that on this one, I believe we have Intel 2.5 gig, and here you go to Realtek 2.5 gig. So if you're think Realtek LAN is of dubious quality, then this isn't exactly nice to hear. You do get the 2 SATA ports. These are from a onboard SATA controller, which is rather interesting. I don't know why they really chose to focus on that, but yeah, M80X only 2 M.2 slots, and the price is a bit high, so not that attractive. Which brings us to, let's start with the M80X tough. So it's this one. This one, I believe you both have power stages on these ones, actually. The Asus one, you have the Almos, basically power stages as well in terms of performance, so decent VRM should be able to handle the higher end processors, and of course more than enough for the locked i5s. You have 2 M.2 slots, just like the MSI one. Only 4 SATA ports on this, not that matters to most people. And then in terms of rear I/O, you got the same as the MSI, and you have more USB-C actually on the rear I/O, which is always nice to have. I would say this is probably going to be more attractive actually than the MSI. You get PCI Express 5.0 as well on this, which is not really useful, but it's a thing anyway. And then this one has Wi-Fi as well, so I'm not exactly sure on the cost, but I would expect this one to land around $150 starting, and we'll have to see how that pans out over time. But yeah, just like the Dash A, just like this one, I think this is going to be a decent board with time, as long as the prices come down. And yeah, it depends if you want Wi-Fi. I'm not sure if there's a non-Wi-Fi version of this actually. Let's see. Doesn't look like it. Maybe it's not on their site yet, but yeah. If there's a non-Wi-Fi version of that, it will be pretty attractive, I'd say. With the Wi-Fi, depends on the pricing, of course. Of course, if you need Wi-Fi, that's always a good thing, to have the Wi-Fi too. So this is overall decent board. Then going over to the ATX TUF, this one's supposed to be $190 or something, with Wi-Fi, so that's about the same as the as some of the MSI boards. So this is getting a bit more expensive, but I think unlike the MSI boards, if we look at, for example, the Tomahawk Wi-Fi, this one does have 3 M.2 slots, I believe. Where are we? Storage, 3 M.2 slots. So this one does have 3 M.2 slots. This one goes in at about $190, $200. So it's more expensive. You get the extra M.2s, but I think for most people that's not really going to be worth it. Same goes for this. It's going to be more expensive, but I think this beats out the MSI stuff at the price range. One of the things though, less USB on this one for some reason, which is strange because on the M-ATX one you have 8 USB ports, and for some reason this one you only have 6. So I don't think that's that great. When it comes to the rest of the boards, I don't think I'm going to bother looking at them too much. I mean, for 12400, I guess, something like this. This doesn't have power stages, it's 4.0. So if the price on something like this is decent, maybe. But I think the Dash A is probably going to take the cake out of these usually. And of course, memory support. Not really sure about Asus memory. Well, let's have a look anyway. God, the site is slow. So, CPU memory support. And what do we want? Memory size 2x16. This is the DDR4, right? Why is it DDR4 one? Ah. So this one's DDR5. Well, that kind of puts it off the list, I guess. So then for this one, DDR4, you're looking at 2x16. It's really what you want to be running on these. And it's up to 4800 for single-sided, dual-sided. These are DJRs, I'd assume. More DJRs. This is B-die. So 4000 on the XMP. That's acceptable. And I'd say it's probably pretty similar. So yeah, then more boards. This ATX one, Gaming X from Gigabyte. I believe this is also where is it? Diamos, so that's decent. VRM, so for the i7 and i9 you'll be fine. You don't get rear USB Type-C for some reason on this. You do get an internal header, which is good. You get internal USB 3, Type-A as well. So you get the usual stuff, and one of the nice things on this board is you get 3 M.2 slots, and I think the price on this one should be a little bit less than the Asus TUF. So this one's an interesting one to consider as well if you want more M.2 slots. Like I said, the VRM should be adequate. The USB situation, I think, will suffice. And then the SATAs with this is you get 4. which is of course still acceptable, I'd say. So this one looks reasonably interesting, actually. The only thing I'd say is Gigabyte has not been very reliable with the Z690 BIOSes. So personally, I'm not particularly interested in any Gigabyte boards at the moment. But yeah, depends on how you feel about that and how this is priced, of course. I think this one's supposed to be coming in about 160 or something. So if yeah, so it's not much more than the Dash A, which is which does make it reasonably competitive, I'd say, just because you get the extra M.2. And next is the M80X Pro. I think this one's $170 as well. You get 12 DRMs, so this is even more VRM. There's more than you need, really. I'm not that convinced by this. It's more expensive than some of the other ones, and it's basically the same feature set. You get two M.2 slots, two SATAs, and the usual internal headers for USB. And what's the rear I/O on this like? That's a lot of USB ports. So if you want a lot of USB ports, I guess this is the one to get. So yeah, that one's not particularly interesting. So I'd say so far, really, the Dash A and the Mortar, and that's about it, I guess. I mean, I guess this, but this is expensive, and this is DDR5. So yeah, not great so far. In terms of Asrock, for some reason, they're not really showing which boards have which memory in the name. But I think all of these are DDR4 boards for whatever reason. Not that DDR5 boards are at all useful at the moment. So yeah, so Steel Legend, I'd say, yeah, I mean, it's 3 M.2 slots. I think both of these are 3 M.2 slots. Yeah, 3 M.2 slots, 6 SATA ports, usual USB internal, and 7 USB rear ports. So nothing terrible. Oh yeah, I forgot what LAN is this. I guess this one is Realtek. What is it? Yeah, Realtek 2.5 gig. And then this one I'd assume is the same. Intel 2.5 gig. This is really strange. They're just, randomly mixing and matching, especially the MSI ones. Like, the Mortar is more expensive than the Dash A, yet the Dash A has the Intel LAN, and the Intel LAN is usually more expensive. Strange stuff, but yeah. It is what it is. This one is, yeah, Realtek 2.5 gig. But overall looks fine, but I'm not really convinced by Asrock boards at the moment. You do get the Almos power stages on this, so that's good. So yeah, these are both the Steel Legends. Then the Pro RS, which one's that? This one, this is also power stages. 7 power stages only this time. But so that'll still be good for the higher end CPUs. Be more than adequate for the i5. You get only 6 USB ports, so that's, I think if you're getting an i5, I don't think this is that attractive. They have the B660 version of this, I think. Yeah, here. This is 8 phase. For some reason, they're just changing everything around, but this only has one M.2 slot, I think. Oh no, there's a second one down in the bottom there. But yeah, if you're buying an i5, I mean, if you're gonna go all the way down this way and have only 6 USB ports, these cheap MSI ones have 6 USB ports as well. And there's no VRM heatsink on these, but these VRMs are pretty decent. You can get about 100 watts through them. So for the 12400, I think this will be fine, actually. Yeah, so in terms of these, probably more expensive than those MSI ones, so I don't think it's worth it. And then the PG Riptide, and then there should be a... Is there no B660 version of that? I guess not. So this one is 8 phase. This one has normal power stages, and the power stages Asrock uses are much worse than the MSI ones, so I wouldn't recommend these, honestly. You get 3 M.2 slots, I guess. But yeah, I'm hesitant to recommend that just because of the VRM situation. And then the PG Riptide, this one has the Almos again, so that's fine. You get 3 M.2 slots. Intel Gigabit, so not 2.5 gig. Not that that'll matter for most people. This one does the 2 Type A internal headers again. Strange. This one doesn't look too terrible, actually. You get 8 USBs, 1C into 1C rear, and BIOS flashback. Not too terrible, honestly. Yeah, PCIe Gen 5. Only 4 SATA ports, but the USB situation is decent. I'm gonna get 3 audio ports, not that most people use. 7.1 audio. That's a cop out. You can't run 7.1 through 3 ports. Anyway, USB situation is fine, M.2. So this is actually a pretty decent board by the looks of it. Have to wait to see how that's priced, but yeah, if that's if that's under $180, or as long as it's substantially cheaper than the Asus TUF, this one, that's not a terrible board by the looks of it. So yeah, overall, it doesn't look like there's that many interesting boards. I think the most interesting board again is the B660A from MSI, just like on B550 and Z690. Yeah, overall, you don't get that many M.2 slots on these boards. You get 3 on some of them, which is nice, I guess. I guess more and more people actually use 3 M.2 slots, but I think the prices go up so quickly that at some point you might as well just go for the Z690 one. And then in terms of memory overclocking, like I said, Gigabyte's having a lot of problems with their DDR4 BIOSes, so I'm not that not that enthusiastic about recommending any of those. And then Asrock. I mean, some of these boards, these are pretty high. Let's see what the Jesus, where's the memory support list? Okay, we're not gonna bother with that, I guess. Oh, here, support. Memory QVL. You can't order these. Dual-sided. Okay, but let's see, 16 dual-sided to... Oh, that's not bad. Oh, that's DDR. Samsung B. So there's the dual-sided. Hynix dual-sided. Hynix dual-sided. Jesus, where's the B die? Okay, that's not very convincing, but yeah. I mean, this one looks interesting. Overall, in terms of memory, I think MSI will, as usual, be sort of ahead of the pack, but as long as you get to 4000, I think on Alder Lake you should be fine, and I'd expect the Asus boards and the Gigabyte boards, as long as the Gigabyte boards are working properly, to actually do that. So yeah, shame that this one's a DDR5 board, not DDR4, because it's pretty alright other than that. I don't know where the other Asus boards are gone. Maybe they haven't been released yet, so I'll have to wait and see. And anyway, yeah, so I hope this was useful. And yeah, catch you in the next one.